Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm pretty tired from doing work outside, but otherwise good.
Oh, you were doing the Grim Reaper routine with your scythe today.
Yes, yes, I was, and I got a little bit carried away, and I accidentally pierced a water tank. So that is
Pierced a
good.
water tank.
Oh, we've got
Okay,
these.
we'll
Yeah, another time.
another time perhaps. That's it. Let's not entertain the listeners too much with that one. They can't cope with that much excitement to start off with. Right. So look, this edition is all about the attack, the strikers, which seems quite apt that about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, confirmation was tweeted by is it what's his name, Fabrizio Romano, or his name is. Here we go, the Here We Go guy. That Jesus has actually signed a 5-year contract with us, all done and dusted, T's are crossed, I's are dotted, etc., which is great, fantastic. But let's not jump into his signing just yet. Let's look at what we've got in the existing squad. And like we did with the midfield, I'll start with the lesser lights, if you like, perhaps. So talk me through Pepe.
You said you want to keep these down to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Surely, I know you want to save it for later, but does not the signing of Jesus and the approach for Rafinha suggest that maybe Pepe is surplus to requirements? I don't know.
Definitely.
I mean, just on a sort of footballing level, he looked like he had a bit of potential when he signed, and could produce the odd moment, but ultimately just doesn't look like he's of the required standard.
Yeah, I mean, he got 16 goals in the season before last. Only one goal this time round. And that is reflected in the lack of playing time as much as anything. So I mean, would either of us be disappointed if he sold?
Not really.
What fee do you think we should get from him?
Well, I mean, who knows in this sort of climate? I mean, 25? 20? I mean, that's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah. It's his wages are going to be a stumbling block. I can see him being the last of those players that we end up kind of almost paying to leave. But considering the outlay, 72 million or whatever it was, 72, 76 million, I don't know.
Over so many years, yeah.
That's a hell of a hit on that player. And I know we've had a global pandemic in the interim. But interestingly, all the people involved in that purchase or that signing are no longer at the club. So,
which speaks volumes.
I think there was an internal investigation, and that was the upshot. Outcome. I don't know. You know what I mean? Right. So Pepe will go.
Yeah.
And that's
the nail in the coffin for me was when we were playing Newcastle towards the end of the season, where I think a win would have guaranteed fourth, or at least, all but confirmed it.
Yeah.
And he was brought on as we desperately tried to carve something out. And there was a moment where he played a crossfield ball that was intercepted. And it was the lack of effort in trying to even atone for the misplaced pass that does it for me, because all those other forwards that we've got buzzing about, who we'll probably talk about, it's all about work rate.
Yeah.
And that's why Lacazette, it took a long time for him to suffer that criticism, because everyone knew that he was sacrificing himself for the team at times. But
there was no lack of effort. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And fans, fans will accept player limitations but they won't accept lack of effort or perceived lack of effort.
Massively.
Ozil was fine whilst he was delivering and producing with his perceived lack of effort, but as soon as the end product dried up, then fans soon got on his back. Right, Pepe's gone. Marquinhos is a new signing another Brazilian, 3 million winger, one for the future, Edu's own words. So presumably, Wolves, who thought they were getting him, had already agreed a loan to Sevilla or someone like that. So assuming that that's what will happen, but I think because of our experience with Martinelli, I think we're going to keep him for a bit, have a look at him and see. Because they had every intention of loaning out Martinelli also, but he impressed that much in training, pre-season training, that they thought, no, sod it, we can benefit from him now. Yes. So we'll see what happens with him. Okay. So then we're on to, there's 4 strikers currently, like, in-house, if you like, and they are Martinelli, Eddie, Smith Rowe, and Saka. We're keeping all of those, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Eddie's just signed his new contract. I would have it. I still worry that he has a fairly low ceiling to what will be required when it comes to trying to push for the top 4, but you can't fault his effort. That last run of games towards the end of the season, and he was delivering goals. So maybe that extra playing time will help him step up.
Yeah, with 10 games to go, I would have not batted an eyelid if Nketiah had left.
No,
but he actually showed something really with quite a lot of potential in those last number of games. He played far better than I thought he would, and he was probably the one shining light in our run-in.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty miserable.
Yeah.
That and North London forever, obviously. The 2 shining lights. But seeing as it is a football team, focus on the footballer. I actually think that I think Arteta likes him because he does have that high energy, this high press, and the goal. I can't remember who it was against Leeds. Was it the goal he got that he just chased down the goalkeeper, and no one else in our squad was going to score that goal, and that's not potentially the case any longer. So I think what we've done with the 5-year contract with him is we've protected his value as well. It's kind of a win-win for us. He gets disillusioned and he leaves, but he leaves and we get a fee, not a fee decided by a tribunal, which would be nominal. And he's got every opportunity now to kick on. He's only 2 strikers at the club. It looks like that's the way it will be, 2 out-and-out strikers. So he's guaranteed cup games initially. I think we'll talk about Jesus. You're not going to sign him and not play him. So Eddie's good. Saka and Smith Rowe. So there's your wide right, Saka, your wide left, Smith Rowe. But Smith Rowe is obviously, well, actually the 2 of them can play across the front 3, and Smith Rowe can probably play that little bit deeper as well if he's required to. Their numbers, I've written down their stats. Right, so those 4. So Saka played 38 games, scored 11 goals and 7 assists. That is a Premier League last season. Smith Rowe, 33 games, and more of those would have been subs. I know he went in that run of got the goal scoring sub for a while. He actually scored 10 goals and 2 assists. Eddie played 21 games, but again, only 8 of those were probably worthy of counting in the statistics. He scored 5 goals and had 1 assist. And Martinelli played 29 games and scored 6 goals and had 6 assists. So those numbers are okay if they're backing up a striker who's got 20 to 30 goals.
That's the thing. We've just never had the balance. You know, when Aubameyang had 2 years where he was the top scorer in the league and no one else was chipping in. And now we've lost his goals. Those very, very young players are spreading them about a little bit. But like you say, we've just lost that striker that would comfortably get into double figures.
Just to tie that up, Aubameyang played 14 games last season, scored 4 goals and had 1 assist. And Lacazette played 30 games, scored 4 goals and had 7 assists. So he was joint top assister with Saka on 7. Yeah. But to play 30 games, and he'd have started pretty much all of those games.
Loads. There was such a long run where you particularly were saying, what does he have to do to get dropped? Because he's just not scoring goals.
And that's cost us, because if Eddie had started playing 5 games earlier, then we didn't. I think we only drew 3 games, the lowest we've ever drawn in the league. And people scoff at a draw, but do you know, 3 of those defeats into draws. If one of them had been at Spurs, if we'd actually set out more sensibly, played the game, not the occasion, then who knows? Anyway, so clearly the issue with our squad was scoring goals, and so we have forked out £45 million on 25-year-old Gabriel. I don't know how to pronounce his surname. I say Jesus. I don't know. I must get on to my Brazilian mates and ask them how to pronounce it. I don't know. I've heard Jesus. I've heard Jesus.
I can't think of another example, but there are certain players where, quite often we will anglicize any foreign name where we can. And then there are others where we really do make an exception, because everyone says David De Gea, for example. David, but it's obviously David. So I suppose I probably should say Jesus or something. But...
well, he can't. I know you did say Jesus, and I'm like, but
I did.
Jesus has another. You can't say Jesus.
I can, like, and I probably will.
This is where I shouldn't say. Yes, but okay. Let me. Right. How so? First of all, your gut reaction.
I think it's a great signing. I think he's a great player. I think he works so hard in a team where that is kind of just expected. And, he's been shifted around. He hasn't always played as the central striker. I think everyone expected him to be Aguero's replacement, but you don't replace Aguero. He's more light-footed than that, I think. And, he's a great player.
You glitched again. Lacazette works really hard.
Yeah, he did. Well, this is the thing. I mean, Jesus is.
Do you want his stats? I'll give you his stats.
His record's not bad, is it? I didn't think it was too bad.
Right. Okay. So there's 2. It's what is it? Lies, and statistics, or whatever it is. It depends on how you read them, because he had 99 starts for City and had 76 goal contributions. That's insane.
But it's Man City.
Yes, right. Okay. He was terrible as a substitute. Last season, he played 28 games. He scored 8 goals and had 8 assists in the Premier League, right? But his minutes per goal is 235.
Okay.
There's a Albinho has kind of tweeted a lot of statistics about him and where he falls. He's distinctly uninspired by the signing. However, he does caveat that with he hopes he's wrong, desperately hopes he's wrong, and also he says that I can't remember what I was going to say there. But he also says that for the money we've paid, who else are we going to get who has better statistics than that? And there is no one. No. And someone then replied to that tweet and said, "There's a reason that Ronaldo and Lewandowski and whoever else are still top strikers, because they're in their late 30s. There's a kind of almost a dearth. There's that." Yeah. You've got these young ones like Darwin Núñez and Erling Haaland who absolutely have this huge ceiling potential, but right now, look at that Isak fella that we were You know, going for like he scored like 1 goal since January or something. It's like so. The positives are he's a beast in the press. You don't work for 6 years successfully under Guardiola unless you actually work really hard on the pitch. And Guardiola says he's the best presser in the Premier League. That's how we want to play. And so that's really good. It's go on.
Well, my thing is as well is we haven't signed a number 9. We haven't signed a striker. We've signed a very modern forward who, you know, will find himself in all sorts of positions, and you know, isn't just going to stand in between the centre backs and hope to outmuscle them. That's just not the football anymore. You know, in terms of what he adds in terms of depth, along with Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Eddie, I think is excellent.
Yeah, you say that he's 5'9", so he's not big. He's quite stocky though. He's quite strong. Like he's not a lightweight, but he's 5'9". Liverpool have just signed a 6'2", 6'3" central striker. Man City have just signed a 6'4" central striker. So I take what you're saying about that kind of modern striker not being the number 9, but yet the 2 best teams in the country have just forked out for a more, if dare you say it, a more traditional number 9.
So who do...
Now, I know they've got much more to their game than that, but...
Well, they've also got more money that they're going to likely spend on those players as well. And because they're so successful and they're in the Champions League, they're more of a draw for those players. So who...
Although Spurs weren't... Spurs are in the Champions League and they're struggling to beat us to players, so that's always nice.
Well,
okay,
sure.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Tammy Abrahams, we could have got for a similar price to what we've paid for Jesus. I don't think they've got as much to their game as he does, but he's not as clinical in front of goal as we need him to be.
So is Arteta's thinking that it's just law of averages? If these sorts of players are creating this many chances, the goals column has to go up in some way. As if we just keep creating more chances, if we can press higher and, you know, pinch the ball closer to the opposition goal, then it just increases the likelihood. And then we'll worry about a proper number 9 striker, you know, just a step down the line, maybe.
I did read something interesting about from the Brazil manager. In a conversation with Jesus, he was apologising for not playing him through the middle.
Right.
And Jesus said, "No, it's okay. I'll play anywhere." But the Brazil manager then said, "Well, where is your ideal position on the pitch?" And he said, quite kind of coyly, "Wide." Yeah. So not through the middle. So he does. So there is that left open. So I'm on board with the signing. I must admit, my initial response a few months ago when we were first linked with him was quite muted. It wasn't, oh, that would be amazing. But as it became more likely that we would get him, I obviously got more kind of excited about that, more in kind of involved in that, or invested in it rather. And I do think he definitely, you know, we needed us to add first team players to our squad this summer. And we've done that here, undoubtedly. Vieira is another first team player. I worry about his slightness, but, you know, we'll see. But he's certainly a first team player. Tielemans and Martinez, Lissandro Martinez and Rafinha, they're first team players. They're first 11 players. And I think we need to get rid of the idea that we'll have a best 11. Man City don't have a best 11 and Liverpool don't. I mean, Liverpool more so have a best 11 perhaps. But maybe, you know, interesting, Liverpool are an interesting case there because Mane's gone. Salah's not signed his contract, and he's apparently asking for like 400 grand a week, and Liverpool just aren't going to pay that. So there is this kind of murmurings that Salah could be on his way.
Yeah.
So, Man City are going to win the league next year. They're Phillips in midfield, Haaland up front. They've got this other striker out. Is it Alvarez, or I can't remember his name, but he's like scored 6 goals in one game recently. So City, Jesus to us, Sterling to Chelsea, perhaps. It's interesting times at the top. But I'm looking. He definitely adds. He'll start against Palace away, no question, and it'll be interesting. Now we have to talk about Rafinha because I still think, even though respected sources, Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein, have both said we are at the front of the queue. Other suitors now expect us to seal the deal. Yeah, I still think at the same time, it's like there's two little kind of storylines going on here. There's that, and then running alongside is Man United's pursuit of Frankie de Jong. And that's getting closer to fruition with the £60 million bid, perhaps. Now, the issue is, what do Barcelona do with that 60 million?
They buy Rafinha.
Or they really want Lewandowski from Bayern Munich, and he wants to go to them. He's got a year left on his contract, but Bayern are holding out for 40 plus million. And so it's that. But
then Barca just stockpiling players again. And after all their money woes that I'm not well informed enough to really speak about, I just don't understand how they can be doing all this. It's crazy. Because Aubameyang must be on ridiculous money. They've still got Messi. No, they haven't got Messi.
No, he's not been there for a year.
Oh, just that in my head hasn't locked in.
Yeah, he's still a Barca player. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
I don't know about football anymore.
But though I suspect or fear that Rafinha will ultimately end up at Barcelona, the more I read about him, the more I want him at Arsenal.
Right.
The more I want him at Arsenal, more than I wanted Jesus at Arsenal. Can you tell me what foot Rafinha is?
I thought he was left-footed.
Yeah, he is. He's left-footed, but he kind of plays on the right quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I was worried about the Saka, too many in that one position. But actually, I didn't realise he was left-footed. Obviously, I don't watch enough football. But his versatility, and schooled under Bielsa for 2 years, another relentless presser, and again 5'9", so not a lightweight either. And his statistics, right? So last season he played 35 games. He scored 11 goals and had 3 assists in a Leeds team. Yeah. That's not bad. He's also scored 3 goals in 7 games for Brazil. Jesus hasn't scored for Brazil as far as I can work out. So I'm actually more invested in Rafinha because of his goal threat. Yeah. And the fact that he can go left and right. He's comfortable on the right, but his preferred foot is his left foot. So what do you think about Rafinha then?
Well, I think he's a great player. Now that we've signed, the problem is I've still got Kroenke mindset where it's like we've signed Jesus. I keep saying Jesus, and therefore that's it. That's the striker's done. So we probably won't go for Rafinha now. But I, hope to be proven wrong.
If we did, because apparently we're very close to having a fee accepted by Leeds.
Right.
Personal terms are already done with Rafinha. It doesn't mean that Barcelona won't come in with a match to Arsenal's offer, and Rafinha will go there. That's fair enough. That good luck to him if he does. That's follow your dream for sure. But we're still after that, Martinez, although apparently Ajax have put a 45 million price tag on him, or 42 million, we offered 25 and that was rejected. And Man United are after him as well. Again, 95'9", but his versatility, he'll cover at left back. He can play cover in midfield as well. And his nickname's the Butcher of wherever. You know, he looks like he physically can look after himself, and he's ridiculously skillful. As I've seen, he's got a brilliant pass on him as well with the left foot. And Tielemans, I was reading a bit about the Tielemans deal. We've cooled our interest because no one else is after him, and he's 1 year left on his contract, and we've already agreed personal terms with him, and it's just getting Leicester. What was it last year? Who did they leave to the last minute to sell last year, and then they lost? They missed the deadline for who they wanted to sign, so they got burned. He couldn't play till after January the 1st. In the end, I can't remember who. They held out, and that player eventually did go. I can't remember who it was. But so Leicester needs. So Leicester aren't right now. They maybe got the stronger hand slightly, but there's nobody else sniffing around Tielemans now. So he's still a possibility, but Arsenal don't want to pay more than the 25 million, whereas Leicester want 35 million. But so all these irons are still in the fire, which is so that's like you said, you're still in the Kroenke mindset. I think you have to qualify that and say you're in the Stan Kroenke mindset. Yeah. We need to realign ourselves with the Josh Kroenke mindset. Don't forget they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I don't know their sporting franchises, but they won. They're in the final of this another sport that they're in, the club that they own. So actually, they are in it to win it. All of a sudden, they were in it to make money, and no one spent more than us net spend since 2020, and they've only owned the club 100% outright since 2018. So, look, I'm not a Kroenke in, but I can't. You know, it's I don't know. The Arsenal fan base is a buzz with all this activity. That's not just we normally get it around season ticket renewal time. Oh, Arsenal interested in £60 million player. Arsenal have £200 million kitty war chest, or those war chest stories. But actually, we're not bleating about it. We're actually what's been reported now are our actual bids.
It feels like a long time since that's happened.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know when it has. I can't remember.
No.
It's so.
Is that a change of mindset? I mean, that's a slight maybe ruthlessness that's coming out in us, where it's, you know, none of the cloak and dagger stuff, no BS. Essentially, it's just, you know, trying to be more professional.
It's also an acknowledgement of Arteta's progress, I think.
Given what he needs.
And not an acknowledgement that with a striker we'd have got top four comfortably last season. So goals are the issue, and that's, you know, everyone we're buying is along that. Okay, let me ask you a question. If you're Emil Smith Rowe, how are you feeling about Jesus and Rafinha coming in?
I think you're fine. It's one of these things. You're still so young, and you've still got so much potential that, you know, of course it'll be on your mind. Well, hang on a minute. If I, you know, it's like Nketiah was sort of thinking, wasn't it? If I go somewhere else and play all the time, you know, I could be knocking on England's door maybe, or whatever. But at the same time, it's that thing. It's like everyone said about Phil Foden. Everyone was saying, oh, there's this brilliant young English talent at Man City and he's just being wasted. No, he's training with the best players in Europe, and that's making him one of the best players in Europe. So there's an argument that Smith Rowe is among good company, and that will serve him as much as he can help the team.
It should motivate him
massively. Any player.
Saka as well. Like they want to be in a successful team.
Yeah, well, successful teams have successful squads and challenge each other and push each other. I was thinking about this, knowing that we were going to talk. At Man City, it feels like there's this weird pattern where players can sort of fade in and out of the limelight because they've got such a strong squad. And like you said correctly, that, you know, no one knows their best 11. They just have whatever they put out is a really, really good 11. And you know, so Gundogan the season before had an absolutely blinding season. Season before that, Sterling was absolutely on fire. You know, De Bruyne in and out with his injuries, but always sort of setting a high standard. It feels like they're good enough and big enough to have players come in and out of the squad, and that's you can see we're trying to maybe push for that as we bolster the bench.
And the key to all of that is the acceptance in the players.
Yeah.
Of the players, in that they understand.
Yeah.
That this is how it is. You'll play 60 games in a successful season. You need that rotation. Yeah. Saka cannot be playing 38 Premier League games next season. It does him, or it doesn't do anybody any good at all, knowing he'll play for England. Every chance that Southgate gets, he'll play him.
Well, he's bound to go to the World Cup, barring, you know, an injury or a massive dip in form or amazing form from someone else. Do you think that signing Gabriel Jesus will help with that shift in mindset? Because he's been at City, he's done it, he's won it all, and well, apart from the Champions League, he's won it, and he will bring that mindset of, well, okay, I'm on the bench for these 1 or 2 games, but that means I'll be raring to go in a couple of games' time. And
or ironically, he's coming to us, so he's not that player.
Well,
so I think, you know, he's the main man, isn't he? Really, and in the absence of another number 9, I think that's fair enough. I think he starts the season, and it's his position to keep.
Do you think? I don't think I'm going to see him as a striker. I think, you know, Arteta can switch and rotate Martinelli, Saka.
Okay.
Loose. And
right. So pick your front 3 then. Let's ditch Pepe and let's supplant with Rafinha. Just humour me. So we've got Saka, Smith Rowe, Nketiah, Martinelli, Jesus, and Rafinha. So we've got 6 players.
I'm gonna discount Rafinha. I can't do that until that's much more.
No, you have to. You have to.
No. I'm playing 4-2-3-1, and I'm going Jesus on the right, Odegaard as the number 10, Saka as the left, and then Nketiah up top.
Wow! So that's your starting. That's your starting 4.
All things being equal, and, you know, on their best form, and, you know, injury free, and all those sorts of things. Yeah, that's probably my starting front line. But that said, like you said, we've got Europe to contend with this season. We've got to have better quality on the bench to draw from. So the fact that Martinelli and Smith Rowe are on the bench, that's a good thing. That's a great thing to be able to draw from.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. The bench is looking very strong. I think I said last week with you know, talking about Jesus and Rafinha, I was like, we're going to win everything with a bench that strong.
Yeah. And maybe Arteta will be able to look at opposition more and think, okay, what's the best attacking lineup to get the better of this defense? You know, is it someone with the tricky feet of Jesus? Is it someone who can, you know, work something from a bit further out like Odegaard and Saka? Or do you want the busy pressing of Martinelli and Jesus together? I don't know.
I mean, you could have a Brazilian front 3 and then an English front 3 on the bench and alternate from game to game.
I mean, how long will it be, do you think, till we've got an away kit of a yellow top, blue shorts, white socks?
And also the song, it's just like watching Brazil's got to be sung. At what game? At some point during the home game against...
I mean, Palace away in the summer.
Who's the first home game?
Oh, is it...
Is it Leicester?
Yeah, it is Leicester, yeah.
There you go. My money's on Leicester. It's just like watching Brazil. So So on the right, we've got one of, and I'm counting Rafinha. I don't care, because if he goes to Barcelona, this is the only chance I get to include him in an Arsenal team. So that's my rationale. I do believe he'll end up at Barcelona still, but there you go.
Okay.
So on the right, you've got Saka, Rafinha, or Jesus. In the middle, you've got Jesus, Eddie, or Martinelli, who they keep talking about Martinelli as a kind of through the centre striker. And then on the left, you've got Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Rafinha, who can do either wing. Rafinha can probably play through the middle as well. I don't know if he's ever played that position for Leeds, but scoring 11 goals in 35 games suggests that he could play through the middle if required to do so. In terms of who I'd start, well, I think Jesus has. I think he's a nailed-on starter away at Palace. Nailed-on starter away at Palace. I think Saka, regardless of Rafinha coming in or not, Saka will start on the right-hand side. On the left, though, I genuinely haven't got a Scooby-Doo. I Palace away.
I mean, Martinelli, surely.
Yeah, I've written Martinelli down first. But if we had bought Rafinha, it's I think the temptation will be there to play him. But
and Odegaard features no matter what. I know we're talking about attackers, but he features as your playmaker.
Yeah, definitely. I think, absolutely. Yeah. I think Vieira's got a lot to do to oust him. And again, but you're talking about Odegaard doesn't have to be used in Europe for the group games in the Europa League. It's Vieira will get his chance. In fact, that's probably the best place for Vieira to cut his teeth, because they're the teams he'll be up against will be very similar to what he was facing in Porto. Lesser opposition, less physical perhaps, and a slightly less pace as well. And it might be kind of more his comfort zone to begin with. Yeah. I would not, if I see the team sheet against Palace and Vieira's in the starting 11, I'll be a little bit concerned.
Well, the only thing will be, injuries and fitness and all that kind of thing, because the bits I did see of England in the Nations League, the fatigue across a lot of the games is just ridiculous. These players, because there's a professionalism that means that their bodies just go under so much stress, and I don't know, they just look knackered.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, is it 4 weeks they're giving Saka in particular? I think they have to have 4 weeks of nothing, just complete rest. So from whatever their last game was, 4 weeks, because what happens to at some point this week, the players are coming back for pre-season.
Yeah.
So obviously the non-internationals will be back in. So that'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens with all the current squad players, and we haven't shifted anyone yet, really. Guendouzi aside, there's, what you're going to do with Rob Holding, this Martinez guy, to go with Saliba. Is Holding going to hang around? Could we cash in on him? Maitland-Niles, how close is he? I know Partey's fit again, and Tierney's is scheduled to start pre-season training with the squad. I think if we do get this Martinez guy from Ajax, I think Tierney needs to look out a little bit, because that could be his position. I know you'd be very upset about that.
I love Tierney.
Who's your captain? First game of the season, club captain.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I mean, Arteta's likely just to give it to whoever's the oldest. I don't know. I mean, clear candidate would be, Odegaard, because he captains Norway as well. Ramsdale's got that, fire in the belly stuff that, that will play well to the crowd. I don't think Xhaka wants it at all. He's been there, done that, and took off and threw down his T-shirt. I mean, Ben White as a quiet kind of, lead by example, maybe, but I just don't know. There's so like you said before, there's so much churn in the squad that there is no obvious experienced leader.
I think there is one standout candidate, and you mentioned him, Ødegaard. I think.
Yeah,
I think because he's involved in everything, and he's the one that talks to the manager on the touchline, gets the instructions, and so that in-game management. And he's clever and he's calm as well. Like I love the idea of Ramsdale captain, but you want a little bit of calm.
Ødegaard,
and he's very young.
Very well, if your daughter brought him home for tea, kind of thing. He's got that kind of sweet little innocent boy down the road look about him.
Yeah, he's not going to antagonise referees so much, is he? Can we just acknowledge that Mike Riley, his days are numbered? He's got one season, though. He's not now. It's one. We've still got to suffer him for this season, and his replacement would be Howard Webb, who's also from the Northwest and Rotherham, I believe. And he was a member of the police in Rotherham, and they don't exactly have a fantastic track record. Allegedly, or something, I've got to say, whatever. So I was never a Howard Webb fan when he was refereeing, like I was never a Mike Riley fan.
Well, I never minded Howard Webb until that World Cup final, where he just, I think the occasion got the better of him. He just didn't want to send anyone off, and Nigel de Jong could just karate kick his way through the Spanish.
3 yellow cards.
Something like that. Yeah. No, that was Graham Poll.
Oh, was it? Right. Okay. Right.
That was Graham Poll again with Croatia. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we just need a bit more transparency from the referees, and I hope he introduces that, and a little bit more diversity as well. Not middle-aged white men from the Northwest, which seems to be all you have to do to be a referee. But I know they've got a second female assistant this year. But
in the Premier League.
In the Premier League, but four of the current referees have gone, haven't they? And the most recent, there's an additional one now. Last week, just announced his retirement.
Dean Moss and Atkinson, was it?
I don't know who it was. Most recently, but good luck to bad rubbish.
As it's the attacker edition, have we not forgotten Balogun?
Oh yes, we have. He wasn't on my list.
So last season, he obviously started against Brentford.
God, he did, didn't he?
He put in the effort, but the team just weren't there that day. And it didn't reflect badly on him, particularly. He's a kid drafted in because the two main strikers were out for bloody COVID or whatever. So, be interesting to see what happened to him. He's probably going to go on loan again, I'd have thought.
I would say definitely another loan for him.
I don't know how old he is, but yeah.
Well, he signed a long-term contract, didn't he? So he did okay at Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Just okay, yeah. So another Championship loan, I think. I'm not sure he'd get into a Premier League starting 11, maybe, but if someone like Forest picks him up, one of the promoted teams picks him up, he might be first off the bench to see what he could do there. Remember,
it would have to be Forest because
Eddie Nketiah at Leeds.
Yeah, Bournemouth have got Solanke, and Fulham have got Mitrovic. So,
well, he's not getting in ahead of Mitrovic. Yeah,
fairly set. I mean, Mitrovic just set the record in the Championship. He is an absolute beast at that level.
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't. I don't know. He did score goals in the Premier League, but not to the extent he did last season in the Championship.
Well, no.
He was ridiculous, his stats, weren't they? But yeah, Balogun out on loan again for my money.
Cool.
But it's a difficult one for him because he's getting further away from the Arsenal first 11. So would he be minded to stay and fight for his place? Because he'd see Nketiah as fair game, probably. They've both got the same agent, haven't they?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's the attack done. So
The attack done.
if we sign Rafinha, we're done. If we don't sign Rafinha, do you think we need anybody else?
I mean, maybe. If Rafinha can't happen, then maybe you do go for that more traditional number 9, someone with a bit of height, bit of power, just to give you a different option. But then again, I think the midfield still needs bolstering ever so slightly. So,
well, I think Tielemans is the man they've earmarked.
but that could be for a cut price in January if things don't necessarily change,
or before the window, the summer window closes, probably, because I think they. Yeah, I don't know. It's the longer the transfer window, or the closer we get to the end of the transfer window, the more interesting that becomes. And then, as I said, I think if he comes in, I think Xhaka might revolving door head out.
Well, I just prefer the numbers, because there was a marked drop when either Xhaka or Partey were out of the team.
Well, the Ajax player, he can play in midfield, and we've got Vieira in there as well. Now, Vieira's not going to. I can't talk about Vieira and think about this slight 12-year-old looking.
Should we just agree to call him Fabio?
Fabio, let's call him Fabio.
Fabio.
Yeah. Fabio.
But not Fab. Definitely not Fab. We had a Fab. That was a different Fab.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's leave it there for the old.
We signed strikers. A striker.
We did sign a striker. Arteta's first striker, actually.
Yeah.
So
interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Maybe he will resurrect.
I see what you've done there. Career. I see what you've done there. Let's hope he doesn't get crucified by the crowd first.
Absolutely, yeah. Good.
Right, on that rather awful note, sayonara or whatever they say.